It's a rainy Thursday here in Alpharetta, Georgia, but inside, it's bright and live. We've got the SPL coming towards you. My name is F-Dot, and I'm joined here by Hinduman.
How you doing today? You ready?
I'm doing pretty well. I'm very excited, actually.
For free FP week?
What?
For free FP week?
What?
For free FP week.
What? Week 4 is going to be one of the more exciting weeks we have for you. We have a great set of games coming up on Friday specifically, but even Thursday today, we're going to start off with the schedule right here. Epsilon versus Myrmidons is a game that we're going to be bringing you right now, and then immediately following that, we're going to see Cognitive Gaming on an upswing take on Denial.
Yeah, Denial versus Cognitive should be a really good one. Both these teams have very similar histories so far against some of the top teams, and the ones that we expected to be medium of the pack come out in the same sort of regard. But like we said, top of the shop today, Epsilon up against the Myrmidons, who, let's be honest, Epsilon just off to a flyer so far.
Yeah, I mean, Epsilon, they have been unstoppable up until this point, undefeated 8-0 at the moment. They'll be going up against Myrmidons, who don't have the same win-loss record as their opponents, but they do look pretty strong coming into it.
Well, let's have a look at the profile, because there is a change for them today as well, as Jermain, one of the Bruise brothers, will not be available for them. And because of that, we'll see Dardez switch into the Hunter role, and their former mid laner, Tins, will be playing as the support.
Yeah, it's actually really interesting. So Tins, or Tynes, was the mid laner for this team, and Psiyo actually just subbed in during the qualifications to get Myrmidons into the Pro League at the beginning of the fall split. Well, it was rumored that Psiyo was just going to be subbing in, but with a talent like Psiyo, you just don't say no. So he became the main starter for that mid lane role. And as we said, with Jermain out, Tynes makes his return to the squad, and he'll be playing support in place of Dardez, who will be playing the Hunter role.
It is a bit of a shame, though, because they're going to be up against an Epsilon lineup. They're in the duo lane, very strong Emilitoo and iRaffer. And I've been saying Bruise Brothers all season because Jermain and Dardez have really put the pound in onto a lot of the duo lanes in EU that they've come up against. They've not won the games, but they've done very, very well. But Epsilon, like we said, Emilitoo and iRaffer, very, very strong.
Yeah, this lineup, I mean, all across the board is very strong. No matter what you do, if you touch Smite Pro League action, you know who Adapting is. He's been MVP multiple weeks, most notably last week, specifically for Europe. He's been out of control, but the rest of the team as well. I mean, even talking about the support, iRaffer, everybody across the board has been fantastic for this Epsilon squad. It's not a one-man show, and because of that, Epsilon remains undefeated.
Not at all, not undefeated. Sometimes we like to talk about records of gods of win-loss ratio. Well, let's be honest, whatever god they've played this season so far, they're a 100% win record.
It's just out of this world how well this team has been going, but it's up to Myrmidons, who will have first pick and first ban to see if they can topple the Titans that are Epsilon. And as we get into here, expect the Ao Kuang ban.
Expect the unexpected, because don't forget the patch just came out as well, so Khepri is allowed in the SPL this week. Maybe we'll see some Khepri picks or bans, we'll find out. Also, on top of that, we've seen the weakening curse nerf, which means we may see more healers coming through the picks and bans.
That is a big deal. Not only do we have the weakening curse nerf, it went from 100% efficiency to only 65%, but we also have the god that you see banned out by Epsilon, Khepri. Now, we won't be able to see him in this game particular, but that should shape not just the games, but also don't forget, with Khepri on the board, teams that might not have been practicing him, that's going to affect picks and bans and leave another character open.
Big key, something will get through. And on that subject, Thor was just banned out and Circuit, which leaves Ao Kuang available at the moment. Epsilon will probably take a look at potentially banning that one away. Will they do it is the question. Bologna also on the table. Sylvanas is one of their go-tos, so they'll probably leave that. But one thing that does leave up if they ban Bologna against Myrmidons is Hades.
And Hades is really not the namesake, so to speak, but sort of the unofficial mascot of this Myrmidons team. LeMoGow is the solo laner, and if you haven't heard anything about him, basically Hades is the god that he's known for. And it's funny, he was allowed to play it once. The first game this team got to play in the Pro League, they just sort of let it go. They wanted to see what it was, and Hades wound up getting him a 13 KDA, so never seen it again. Odin first pick.
Odin first picked. Now, what was I just saying about weakening curse being nerfed and maybe a lot of healers? Odin's been picked here potentially by Myrmidons to stop Epsilon looking at healers. Also very good against Sylvanas, which is one of iRaffer's go-to healers as well. The one thing is, though, is that if Epsilon look to not go for healers, then they could leave a lot of them available on the board for Myrmidons to look at picking up in the next phase.
Not for nothing, Odin has been a powerful god in his own right, sort of a very, very niche role, and that's why it's surprising. We were surprised to see him picked this early on, because what Odin does well is deal with gods that don't have jumps and leaps, which surprisingly, Epsilon kind of playing directly into Myrmidons' hands. They go ahead and they select Janus and Freya, two gods that have issues getting out of an Odin ring.
Yeah, Janus will have trouble. I mean, Freya can take to the sky to buy a few seconds and even banish inside that circle the Odin out or anybody else in there. There's the Hades pick from LeMoGow. Not a surprise to see that one finally being locked in. So that will, I'm almost 100% certain that is going to the solo lane.
Without a doubt, like we said, I mean, this is the unofficial mascot for the team. It's only the second time he's been able to play it in the Pro League, and the first time it went their way spectacularly. Wow. And Myrmidons also going to pick up a Hell, so that's very interesting.
I'm pretty certain that's got to go to mid lane. There's no way they're not going to give LeMoGow Hades.
Now, do you reckon we'll see is it possible, Hindu Man, that we see a swap? Does Psiyo relive his days on mortality and swap over to the solo lane to allow LeMoGow to play the Hades?
I'm going to say no. This is too new. The patch just came out as well. Let's stick to traditional roles here. I don't see them doing anything crazy like that. Shenanigans of switching roles for the most part. But that Helbic is going to be very, very strong. That's what I was talking about when they pick the Odin for first. They can potentially pick up healers. But Epsilon with a fantastic response there with picking up OSiris.
Yeah, the OSiris is going to bring the same thing that Odin brings to the table in the way of shutting down healers. With that ultimate Lord of the Afterlife, it actually shuts off healing completely 100%.
There's one issue, though, with picking OSiris. OSiris against Hades is not a good matchup for him in the laning phase, and someone like LeMoGow will try to exploit that in the early stages. He is against Dimmy, though, after all, so Dimmy should be well aware of what he's getting himself picking into here. We may even see OSiris jungle for adapting, but it's highly unlikely.
Neith going to be banned out by the team of Epsilon. It's very interesting because Neith is one of their most played hunters.
Well, take into account they've already picked Freya. I said by Epsilon, but it's like, well, they're picking Freya here. And honestly, Neith has a pretty good matchup against Freya. Can stay at range, root her in places she can't get to the minions to clear them.
And
sustain
not for
very well.
nothing, Neith is one of the sort of easier to pilot hunters in the game. And with Dardez playing Hunter, maybe a little bit new, you're jostling the new guys around. You're paying attention to that role specifically.
Fenrir taken away from adapting as well. So they've hit 3 jungle bans at adapting, and he's gone for Awilix here.
The Awilix is going to be an interesting pick here. There's not a lot of setup by way of knockups. Freya and Janus portals are both considered banishes.
That's correct.
So not going to be able to pull out of the air. But that's also one thing that Awilix players have issues with at the lower level is the ult is so much more than just a pull.
Well, one talk about Awilix as well is also the Bluestone Pendant. It is going to be jungled though, but Bluestone Pendant could be quite useful on her as well to be able to use the physical power to actually apply a dot after she's done a feather step and such. I'm not sure if she'll go for it, like I said, because it's jungle, but keep an eye out for Bluestones in the games going forward. We do have an Ares now for Myrmidons.
Ares is going to bring a lot of damage to the table. Keep in mind that that's going to be Tynes playing the Ares, not Dardez as per usual with Jermain out. Tynes is stepping up as a substitute, and Medusa will be the hunter that we're going to see in that long lane on Myrmidons, piloted by Dardez. So should be an interesting look. Now Medusa, you mentioned Bluestone before. Medusa works very well from what I've seen with this new item.
Because obviously she can apply her one ability. It will also apply that auto attack that will apply a dot as well as another dot on top of it. Potentially could be a bit more burst out of it. I'm not sure about going that first item though, because you really want to get a stacking item like online, really like Transcendence for the mana sustain more than anything else.
Yeah, the mana is a large part of it. So for those of you unaware, we've seen a change to Bluestone. Bluestone used to give passive mana. Now what it does is it gives a little bit of physical power, and then once your abilities hit the opponent, you will get 30 additional damage over time. It's a dot. Luckily for us, nobody selected it this time around, so maybe just a little bit too new for the pros to really want to bring into their game.
It's one to balance out because Bluestone doesn't actually come with any health whatsoever, remember. So if you do take that one off, you're looking to be very aggressive. We could potentially see it as a jungle item going forward. For the time being, though, we will not. This lineup from Myrmidons, though, such a crazy one that if you walked into the SPL last week and saw this lineup, I'd be like, what the hell is the game plan? But things have definitely changed this time round. Psiyo in the mid lane as hell is a big one for me, and I think it's going to be a big focal point for Epsilon to try and shut down.
Yeah, see, Hell has issues. So Hell, largely, in a nutshell, is the idea is that she's a good god except when she's camped, and that is always because nobody wants to let her get away. Teams usually relegate her to the solo lane to allow her a little bit more safety. In this mid lane, though, Hindu Man, she's going to have a lot of stuff to deal with when it comes to ganks or otherwise.
Yeah, I mean, she's going to have to be very careful about positioning for the most part, because if she does get collapsed on, Awilix can really punish her for it as well. Take into account that last pick of Geb. There was 2 reasons Raffer's picked Geb here. Normally he's gone for Sylvanas most of the season with his 100% win record on it. But against an Odin, it detracts from the niceness, the nice power that Sylvanas brings with those wisps. On top of that, Geb also has Shockwave. His 2 ability, it will allow the knock-up to be used by Awilix to allow her to use her ultimate and pull people out of position. Potentially, Psiyo.
So this Odin jungle is very interesting. Early game, he's going to bring a lot of damage with on Dark Dodo. So watch basically his whole kit is the jump. He'll activate the shield and the jump just to slam people down with so much early game damage, and then later on transition into more of a control character.
A lot of aggression onto Dardez early on in this lane as well. Still has 1 health potion and 1 mana potion in his inventory though, so he's not going to be too upset just yet. Emilitoo did take a little bit of a beating there, but he should be fine. Don't forget, Freya does have passive heal.
Early for Freya to start being that aggressive, as you said. But we'll see how it goes on as the wave goes, or as this lane goes on and on. Medusa will be the one that sort of controls as far as clear is concerned. Does take her a level or 2, but as soon as that acid spray starts to do damage, she should have the large amount of control here on the left hand
This
side.
is the unfortunate thing for the Myrmidons here, because they're using a sub in the duo lane. They're against Geb Freya. Now Ares and Medusa should be able to beat down Geb and Freya in lane for the most part. Put the push power onto them, especially Geb has to be careful about chains coming out because he can't roll out. He can take a lot of pressure, but at the moment it's just not going to work out for them. They've been pushed in by Emilitoo and iRaffer. They're showing experience. And keep an eye on Epsilon doing what they've been doing time and time again and look for invades into the enemy jungle. Luckily for Myrmidons though, they've already cleared their jungle out.
Very standard stuff coming from the mid laners and the jungles right now. This is really sort of the choreography that we see. The junglers sit with the mid lane rather than sitting with the solo lane as they did last split. So a little bit of change of pace there, but especially with this Hell, don't forget, she doesn't have a traditional ultimate. So there's going to be a lot of, there's not going to be a lot of burst presence outside of just the repulse.
Now, with Weakening Curse being nerfed as well, and we're going to be against this Hell, are you going to be seeing... I think we're going to be still seeing some Weakening Curses, but I think we'll see more Divine Ruins, and we'll see more things that are trying to reduce healing down time going forward, especially from the physicals as well. They're going to have to be more involved with making sure they reduce the healing.
Brawlers, beat sticks might come out. We might see a couple
Pestilences,
more Pestilences
too, are magical, yeah.
as well. So keep an eye out for some interesting items that you might not have seen otherwise. Now, something that everybody is used to seeing, Blink. 2 blinks already on the side of the Myrmidons, and then Epsilon has a blink on their Awilix as well, just coming out of the game.
Yeah, Dark Dodo on Odin with blink is so useful to pick it up on him. It allows him to actually jump in, use the ring, and actually save his leap to get out of trouble, or continue the engagement if somebody jumps away from him, instead of having to just use his leap and then having no other form of chase or escape.
Pink came out on the left-hand side. It sounded like a call to action for Epsilon, and Geb will go ahead and hit the ultimate along with Petrify. A lot of damage coming out onto Myrmidons, but Epsilon taking some poke as well. Here comes the rest of the team. Awilix throws out the ball, but not able to pick it up. There it is off the Geb pull, and Awilix adapting, gets the first kill of the game.
Dark Dodo is here though and gets the ring down to secure a kill and trade with Tins. Tins gets 1 and Psiyo picks up the other one. First blood to Epsilon, but Myrmidons do trade 2 back.
That's going to be a big, big move for Epsilon to be able to answer back with not just 1, but 2 kills. First blood gives you a little bit more gold than average, so by answering with 2 kills instead, it evens up the game even more. So
well,
teams are separated by what, 100 gold?
They have an opportunity as well now to actually get both mid harpies here as well. Yammyn might try and contest these, but the burst damage from those 2 in mid from Myrmidons going to be too much. LeMoGow managed to make the rotation over to the right-hand side harpies after pushing out Dimmy, and Dimmy did just base to pick up that Iqval there as well. So got themselves in a decent position so far, Myrmidons. Good rotation from mid and jungle, to be honest, because Janus fired off the portal very early, did Yammyn, and put him in a good spot.
Very, very early in this game. Team still tied up. Nice gank early on, as you said, but...
Well, we did see from Epsilon there what the power of the Awilix plus the Geb combo can do.
Exactly.
Dardez was very, very safe on the tower, played that beautifully up till that point. There was nothing he could do against what happened, but he played it absolutely crisply. Defended his Ares, got the Ares out of trouble with the Petrify, managed to body block some auto attacks as well, and then unfortunately Shockwave hits and he's getting pulled into a bad spot.
You know, there's a sort of a sigh of relief, I guess, after Awilix uses her potential knockup, but that ability only knocks you up if you're turned around, so all right, didn't knock me up, can't get me. Oh, you got me, because Geb knocks him up anyway. And that's a really big part of this interaction. That's why we see the Geb, as you said, instead of the Sylvanas that's seen so much success for this Epsilon team.
And the reason for me Myrmidons played that so well is because they're against two more mobile gods in the jungle as well. They're against an Awilix who has Suku for the increased movement speed through the jungle. And on top of that, they've got the Janus with the through space and time. The fact that they were able to get over there and respond in time, very good credit to the Myrmidons, and they're really looking to actually try and give Epsilon a show here.
Dardez on this Medusa, as we said, traditionally a support player stepping in, but on the right-hand side, LeMoGow might be in a little bit of trouble. Drops the Pillar of Agony right away and adapting, and his solo laner going to work. The pull from adapting is good. That dash goes underground, but it is counted as a jump.
Class is a leap, and the rotation from Myrmidons is here. They're considering this, but they've chosen not to. Dimmy do take a little bit of poke damage from Psiyo there, but the rotation not quick enough. And that's one of the other reasons Awilix is very good, being able to deal with the escapes from LeMoGow.
Not able to get away from the Awilix, exactly. And as we said, there's so much more to that ultimate than being able to grab people out of the air. But the two spots where we see it used to grab were important. It's not just in the middle of the lane off the knockup to get the grab for maybe a second or two of CC. It's when the player's under the tower and when the player uses the escape. So intelligent use of this ultimate coming out from adapting thus far.
And the strength from adapting again to show his map presence everywhere, trying to abuse his character to keep the pressure on for the map and get his team into the mid game. Always looking for the ganks whenever possible, and he's even creating ones when they're not really there to be found in the first place.
Jungle Odin going to be able to clear these camps extremely quickly. It's actually funny, if we get a chance to see Dark Dodo clear one of these back camps into man, it's a one-shot. At this early point in the game.
That's the strength of Odin. Early mid-game, he's got a lot of burst potential on the camps to get fast clear on. If he can get the ring and trap people inside, well, he's got the potential for Janus. He has the potential to an extent of OSiris unless he uses his ultimate. Freya can't escape the ring, but she can take to the sky.
Right there was the power of Odin being able to hit the mid camps, and one more basic would secure them. Psiyo, Tins, and Dark Dodo will find themselves on the right-hand side. Both Harpies go to the Myrmidons.
And they're still behind on gold by about 300-400. It's not monstrous amounts here, but these mid Harpies are just starting to weather the burn that Epsilon was starting to put on them a little bit here. They should be farming in terms of catching up on experience at the moment. Dardez, though, in this lane for me is this Medusa. Playing this very, very safe. He's respected Emilitoo a lot in this lane, and this is just, for me, it just feels because he's not used to playing the Hunter role.
Exactly, and that's going to be a large part of this matchup.
Was it a good bait, though?
Coming out, but the rest of lane Myrmidons are here to party. Damage is real onto that Medusa.
Didn't catch the ring.
Here comes the ultimate out of area. He's going to be pulled onto the top. Is Freya taking a lot of damage, but so is Tins.
Really unfortunate not to get trapped in the ring. If Dark Dodo managed to get him inside that ring, that could have spelled disaster for the boys of Epsilon. Yes, iRaffer was in support. He got a good cataclysm off to stop being pulled in from the no escape, but they didn't have the burst damage when they couldn't reach hold of him.
Just the return amount of damage was able to push the enemy out of the engagement. So a lot of damage dealt, a lot of violence seen in that long lane, but no kill.
They had the opportunity to kill Emilitoo there. It was a small slip up. They baited Emilitoo in a very good way. Will Emilitoo rinse repeat that? Highly doubtful going forward now.
Blue buff secured for Dimmy over here in this long lane. Slight lead over
LeMoGow.
here.
Again, waiting for him. And there's the blink in. They're going to look for the pressure. LeMoGow is going to ult in response immediately. Suku jumps away. Wait for the ultimate dash away. LeMoGow's very smart. Not going to dash. Not going to turn his back on this one. But he's still going to fall out to adapting unless he does something soon. Doesn't manage to get the ultimate off. But here comes Dark Dodo and still adapting. Gets it with a feather step.
Just a hair too late did Odin show up. He's trying to fight adapting and give the chase. But with the summon of Suku, adapting is going to be out of here, no problem.
I mean, he could have ringed him in, but if he did that, Suku would have just leapt over the wall anyway, so it was not much Dark Dodo could do there. LeMoGow played that, to be fair, to the best of his ability to try and survive as long as he could. He knew what Adapting's game plan was after the first time he visited.
Right, Adapting, seeing that Hades wasn't going to jump in vicinity, actually used the ultimate earlier, and that's what we were talking about. There's so much more. It's an incredibly large steroid. Pull from Tines. Actually, here comes Geb.
Yeah, here comes Geb as well as Emilitoo. So Yammyn and the burst onto Tins is big. Tins is in a lot of trouble now. One of the issues with an Ares is he's only got really damage, no real escapability. The rotation for Myrmidons is on its way. The ring is down on two. Emilitoo in a bit of trouble here. Will he be able to survive?
Bird Bomb is strong, and Emilitoo does fall. 4 members of Myrmidons are here, and Psiyo's going to clean up iRaffer with one hit. That's going to be good to bring the kill count to 4 to 5.
A great rotation, though, from Myrmidons there. They pick up 2 for 1 in exchange for a support. Really like what Adapting did just at the end of that engagement there. Was late to it, but he put a ward down immediately at Gold Fury to withstand the pressure that they could potentially put there. They can keep an eye on that one. Myrmidons get the left-hand Harpies as well here. Right one's about to spawn. Psiyo's in position for them. Myrmidons are giving them a game here with a substitute.
They really are, but a lot of it for me, Hinderman, has come off of the rotations from Psiyo. Psiyo was a part of that original, the First Blood retaliation was made because Psiyo came over into the left-hand lane, and this event just happened because Psiyo made the rotation to the left-hand lane. So we were sort of curious as to how Hell would fare in the mid lane. I don't know, because she's halfway in the duo lane half the time.
Well, to be fair, he's had an easy time with it because Adapting's focused duo lane, then switched to solo lane for the majority of the time. He's not really had an opportunity to try and pressure the mid lane out. And Psiyo, all he has to do is farm safely in the early stages as a Hell. It's easier said than done most of the time, but he's had the opportunity so far this game. Keep an eye on the rotations and see how things going. iRaffer, though, just on this game at the moment, he's currently 1-2-2. Did go back and finish Weakening Curse very, very early on. They realized the pressure of these heals.
11 minutes in, Fire Giant is spawned, but no team's really thinking about that just yet. 4 to 5 read the kills. Tie game here, though, in our first game of week number 4.
And first game of the patch as well. I just want to reiterate that. This is the
yeah.
one thing about patches is always an interesting time to see which teams adapt to the new meta the quickest. What will change? Who've worked out what's good at the moment? Who hasn't just yet? Who's sticking to try traditional stuff from the previous patch? And who are the ones that are going to experiment, like Myrmidons have, and try and find success?
Exactly. For right here, just looking at it, Myrmidons is really embracing the new patch. The most notable change that you could witness here in this game is the change, the Weakening Curse again. From 100% healing reduction to only 65, we see the Hell come out, and she's going to see how much she can heal with the Weakening Curse being as weak as it is.
Now, 65% is still a lot, but the problem is that as the game goes on, those healers, well, they can still burst a lot of healing. That's still a
Hell
decent chunk.
specifically has the burst.
It's still a 35% heal, right, of what they would do normally. And a Hell in a team fight, very, very strong to just be able to give them that bonus heal up as well. We'll see how the teams play out with it, because for me, that's one of the big talking points. Bluestone, we'll get to that when we see a god that's going to make good use of it.
Same thing with Khepri. Khepri is going to impact the game in the pick ban phase, and then if we see her in game, we'll see, or see him in game, we'll see how that interacts. But right now, for me, it's all about the healers. It's all about this Hell mid. Something that there's no way we would have seen this pick prior to today.
No, well, but to be fair, we've seen it once or twice, but it's not worked out well. People realize a lot of healing reduction is available to them. Let's just abuse that. Now, not so much. What will the teams do in response? Well, I expect to see a little bit more Alpwash potentially coming back into the meta now because of that too. We can see some Alpwash, we can see some more Ra, some more Afro, some more Chonga all entering the mix. Odin, OSiris, definitely going to be worthwhile, but in the mid lane, Psiyo under pressure.
Ring is down from the Odin, but Psiyo finding that pressure, as we said, for the first time today. But Epsilon, even with 4 members, unable to aggress on Psiyo the way they wanted to because of Dark Dodo's presence.
I mean, Psiyo as well, level 15. He's the highest on his team as well as we tune in with a dual lane. Trading off again, Emilitoo versus Dardez. Misses the auto, chooses to lacerate away. iRaffer is here. Does he have Blink available? No, it was used in the last engagement, so just rushes away the trade. Tins, though, back in lane. But the big thing in that play in the mid lane, Dark Dodo got a very good ring off to protect his healer.
Here's Dark Dodo blinking in. No ring available, as we said. It was used earlier in the mid lane. Should be up relatively soon.
A little bit over-aggressive there with that blink. I mean, I think he was trying to bait something out of Emilitoo, but the communication of Epsilon should be so good that they know he's not got rings, so there was no real panic from Emilitoo there. He didn't use anything, no Aegis, no beads, nothing crazy.
Epsilon grouping up largely, almost 4 members here in the middle lane. Hades will find himself back onto the solo lane, so Myrmidons spreading back out.
I want to give shout-outs to Dark Dodo, because he's one of the newer members of the Myrmidons team as a full-rostered member here, after replacing Getfisher. Currently level 14 in this, he's 1-0-3. Meanwhile, Adapting 3-1-0 is actually down a level on him. It shows that he's been farming very, very effectively on this Odin to get him to this stage so far. Hopefully he can start making more of an impact now, because as he levels up, he'll do more damage, as you can see, but he's starting to hit that sort of cusp now where he just wants to get the items online to either do the burst or be very tanky.
Yeah, this is the almost the apex of where Odin really deals his damage, as we said. This damage falls off. Don't forget, it also puts him in a very, very rough spot to use that combination. You're using your health shield and your escape to deal damage when you use the bird bomb.
Now they're looking for a big play on Psiyo in mid lane. Psiyo feels something's wrong here, adapting side mid lane with Yammyn, iRaffer over the wall. He can't see him there. There was a sentry there, so he knew no one was there. Dog Dodo going to drop a ward down and come mid as Psiyo picks up his red buff. They're not going to find anything, but Tins, he may be a little bit overextended here. Does he realize he's 3? He will now.
Tins got to watch his body, Seps. All right, he's going to stay here, standing strong right on top of his own ward. Dark Dodo is here to provide a little bit of support as well.
It looks like Epsilon want to fight this because Dimmy at the moment has just come straight back to base, got the teleport online and is barreling down towards this Gold Fury. Epsilon feel like they may have an opportunity here, and we can still see Dimmy teleport back to solo if they change their mind about this one, but that's what they seem to be looking for.
LeMoGow gets a little curious. He realizes that his opponent solo laner is not in lane, so he's going to make a little slight rotation. They'll meet each other in the jungle.
Good job for the Myrmidons, though, to push up both those lanes on the outside as well. LeMoGow just denied a full wave to Dimmy in that lane by making him consider, basically by pushing it all the way to the tower. The tower may even fall to that mini wave. Look, there's one more that's just turned up, but it's on its last legs already.
Yeah, that tower is basically free at this point. No need to go crazy for it, but just know, for the Myrmidons just have to know that the single basic will be able to pull it down. Fight over by the Gold Fury. Gam is going to be good. Psiyo gets stunned out, but Tins gets pulled onto the other side of the fight. Tins goes down before the pull comes out of Ares. That's going to be a big swing in the way of Epsilon's team fight. Emilitoo already takes out one. Only 3 members of the Myrmidons remain. One of them is Dodo, who just jumped in the middle, and he's taken out immediately by adapting.
Absolutely beautiful fight from Epsilon there. They picked the targets they wanted to over again. They knew the no escape was coming. Even the through space and time from Yammyn connected with Psiyo on the backside. Psiyo used his burst heal, but the weakening curse was used at the correct time to reduce as much as possible of that one. They took out Tins, they switched to Psiyo, and then cleaned up the kill onto Odin.
Huge part of that fight was the DPS race. And I mean, it's nothing out of the ordinary. That's what you expect when the Ares goes up, because as I said, he killed him before the pull was able to come off.
Dardez also losing his purple buff there as well, trying to make something happen. Petrify available, but the shield is good from iRaffer to prevent the damage onto him. Emilitoo, his last ability used because he ran out of mana, does land the pulse to slow down Dardez's chase.
Great shield coming out from iRaffer onto himself, which is not usually where we highlight the game.
Oh, good blink from Tins, though. That should secure iRaffer's death there. 3 chains in a row. Good night, sweet prince. No, the chains! Sorry, the shield will save his life.
The shield. That's the second time a great self-shield comes out onto the Geb by iRaffer.
Just staying alive the best amount. That'll be unfortunate for Tins there. He made the right decision. He caught the play that he needed to. Just unfortunately, he had nothing else left. Shield obviously cleansing the cripple as well, so he could roll out straight away and avoid the last ticks of that searing flesh. So as it stands right now, if we go to the gold graphs, we should see about a 2,400 gold lead for Epsilon. Even though the tier 1 tower on the right went down. They got the Gold Fury as well. Let's take that into account.
So it was really the Gold Fury and the 2 kills that the Epsilon goes ahead and picks up against Myrmidons, which they're doubling their opponent's kills. 4 to 8 right now. We're 18 minutes in, but really this 3,000 gold lead is important. This is the first lead of the game that we're going to be able to see, and Epsilon should be able to leverage it, and that's
Dardez
exactly what we're seeing in the
is
left
in real
lane.
trouble there. Can't juke anything out. No, he's not dead. He's going to live with barest amount of HP. In the jungle, though, there is a fight going on. At least position wars to try and make sure nobody supports that Hunter over there. Epsilon doing a good job of zoning, saying, look, Myrmidons, if you try and come over to this duo lane, we will stop you.
Blink into the mid lane. Coming out from Awilix, trying to make things happen on a Psiyo. Great Geb is going to make the team stutter step, but as soon as Psiyo lands, Adapting's going to poke him in the face, and down goes the healer. Following Tins into the jungle is the entirety of Epsilon, and they'll pick up a double kill for their jungler.
Double kill, and that's down to Dimmy's rotation as well there. LeMoGow just pushed up that lane, didn't realize that Dimmy was going to rotate, and now the boys of Epsilon grouping in the mid lane there. Emilitoo was low on HP, going to heal a little bit off those minions. They may look to continue fighting this after.
Epsilon just might. They have enough to siege. They'll play it safe, and they won't push their luck, even though they do have a slight lead. As I said, this is just a 3,000 gold lead in, man. They still have to be careful. These are definitely still fights that Myrmidons can win without a doubt, especially under a tower.
But it's going to be a big ask for them to try and deal with adapting in this game. That's my concern now. Take into account, one thing we didn't really speak about was the fact that there is 2 leaps on their side. They're going to have the LeMoGow one on Hades. There's also the one on Odin. So Odin can't really engage with his leap or try and escape without being threatened of the pull back in from adapting as well. He's already 3-6, 1 and 2, and this Transcendence is in the works.
With Ares, the ultimate name is No Escape, but it's conditional. There's beads, there's ults, there's Aegis, etc. With adapting, there actually is no escape. If you use it, you're going to get pulled by that Awilix ultimate.
Myrmidons at the start of this game look pretty good with their rotations and being able to deal with Epsilon's early aggression, but as this game's gone on, I feel the substitute is playing a factor, not potentially Tins' own fault, but Dardez and Tins, they've not really managed to get things going, and now Tins stuck in the jungle.
Just surrounded by red shirts, and that's going to be the death handed to Emilitoo, and smartly, not Jermain.
Something a lot that Epsilon do is look to pick the support in the jungle time and time again. Just when they're trying to ward in their own jungle for the safety factor, they're not going to find it. Adapting's going to swing mid here. Maybe they'll look for a pick. Nobody gets caught, so it's fine. LeMoGow going to meet Dimmy and then rotate mid.
Underneath the tower is Myrmidons. 4 players on Epsilon here in this mid lane. Emilitoo still in the duo lane, facing off against that Medusa. Epsilon should look to push. This tower is relatively low.
Blink engage from iRaffer though. Cataclysm on the backside onto LeMoGow. The ring is good from Dodo to trap him ball inside. iRaffer's in a lot of double, and the damage from Psiyo will burst him down. Adapting does get out with Suku, but LeMoGow gets hit by the threshold to slow his chase.
I like the decision from Epsilon to go in, but as I said, with this small of a lead, it was about 3,000, 4,000 goldish, Hinderman. With this small of a lead, that is going to be tough to fight. The one-on-one, on the other hand, a little bit different.
That's been brewing since minute 1 of that game for me, that duo lane. That's just been brewed from the start. Dardez has been giving too much respect to Emilitoo. In credit, he should do. He doesn't main Hunter.
Sure.
But at the same time, he's giving too much respect to Emilitoo, and Emilitoo's really starting to have his way with that lane now. And that's going to be more issues for him, because Freya at full build in the hyper carry stage, real issue. Real issue.
21 minutes in, Epsilon looking very strong. They're stretching their lead little by little, though. They're not winning these gigantic 5-0 fights. They're getting 2 here and 1 here and only a single Gold Fury. So it's step by step this time around for Epsilon rather than a gigantic steamroller heading down the mid lane.
Pretty much, and that's what they seem to be doing for the time being. See, on Psiyo though, he has picked up the Mail of Renewal here as well, which is one of the items that did get changed in the latest patch. Yeah. It did get an increase to the amount of CDR it has and increase to the amount of healing it gets as well.
Now, I mean, so the last time this item saw any sort of relevancy or a surge in purchase was MLC Stealth. Just happened to like the item in its old iteration in that mid lane, and we saw it picked up by him, but sort of him alone. With the new changes, expect to see this item almost everywhere. 15% CDR up from 10, 20% heal up from only 10%. It doesn't stack anymore. It will refresh the duration, but also it procs off of objective kills as well. So when your team is fighting over that Gold Fury, when the Gold Fury goes down, you're going to get hot for 20% of your HP.
Let's talk about the Gold Fury, because Epsilon have started that one up once again. They're in a prime position to do it. iRaffer zoning off the Odin, actually clearing out wards there. Tins knows what's up though. He can see it in the distance. Can the team rotate? Because Psiyo's in base right now, and they won't be able to. Maybe they'll try. Nope. I thought they may have tried to make something happen in the end of that to trade it back, but no. Gold Fury to Epsilon. A nice free pickup.
And now this is really the swing that Epsilon is looking for themselves. The lead is even larger now. Really a tangible lead as opposed to just 3,000 gold or so. Hades going to get word that Epsilon is here in numbers. So he's going to get out of here.
Emilitoo again under the tower, looking to burst down Dardez, who's in a world again, going to fall down. If you notice what Emilitoo was doing there, he's applying the slow, then getting the full damage off with the Irradiate. Once the slow still on him, taking to the sky, picking up the kill, and he's going to get a tower as well. They need help in this duo, badly.
Tins is going to go ahead, get stunned out, lifted in the air. More damage coming out from both Geb, but more importantly, Freya is dealing out the gumballs onto this Ares, and well, we're going to have a rotation out of the Janus. Not able to kill is Emilitoo, but he's going to get jumped on by the Circle Odin, and damage coming out is going to be fine. Freya will find himself
in the jungle, though. Psiyo was still fighting too, and Psiyo's in a world of hurt as Emilitoo comes in to pick up the cleanup crew kill and actually find himself now on a rampage. It was a good rotation from Dodo, but the shield from iRaffer was really good. Emilitoo now going to steal away the purple buff as well. Epsilon have just put the key in their ignition. They were in drive for a while, but now they've just gone into hyperdrive.
Yeah, I mean, this one, as we said earlier, it was sort of step by step, but you know, 19 minutes, it was step by step. 20, it was step by step. There was one engagement in Hindu Man where it just sort of all went out of control, and it's all happened in this duo lane. And a lot of it, honestly, has to do with the 1v1s that Emilitoo is able to pull off over Dardez.
Well, it's caused the rotations from both the jungle and the mid lane of Myrmidons time and time again. Then you've seen the follow-up of Epsilon to that as the game went on. The early pressure from adapting really helped for that, and set Myrmidons up, honestly, with that first 2-1 that we saw. But then the pressure really has just continued on there. Emilitoo and iRaffer feeling a lot more confident as the game's gone on about that matchup. And he's forcing pressure now to LeMoGow on the right because nobody can help him out.
Unfortunately for LeMoGow, gets a couple of people caught. Immediately turn and burn is what Epsilon does. Able to take out the solo laner, no problem, as he's basically surrounded by all 4 players. Dardez going to be chased out of his own jungle
In
just
the mid lane,
a little bit.
Another pick onto iRaffer, who's going to be absolutely destroyed as the full wombo connects. Awilix pulling him in, and then the through space and time connecting. And with that, the call for the fire giant has begun. Emilitoo level 20 already. Obviously, most members are actually hitting level 20 very quickly right now. As we can see in the mid lane, there's a lot of people from Myrmidons saying, we can't really do much, boys.
Exactly. It's worth to note that Dark Dodo and Psiyo do have a fair amount of burst as far as that's concerned, but just the sheer wipe factor that Epsilon has on them, I mean, it's almost a 10,000 gold lead even without the fire giant buff. You can't just literally jump in there as the Odin would try to do. It just won't work out, so Myrmidons played a little bit safe. They're going to relinquish the objective to their opponents.
They're losing a lot of towers.
Others.
Dardez is still in the duo lane here, trying to take a tier 1 tower. They lose a tier 1 on the right. They could lose a Phoenix here, because in mid lane you can still see iRaffer alone is pressuring, and now he's got Dimmy coming around the back to help pressure as well. Dardez does finally turn back to base, but I think the Phoenix is under threat as we see LeMoGow trying his best to defend with the help of Tint.
Up in the air is the sub, not able to grab too many people, but the chains are coming out. So is the Petrify, but it's just not enough. Epsilon dealing so much damage. Dardez does pick up Emilitoo, which is going to be a large part of what Epsilon can do on this offense. And with just 1 kill, Myrmidons is able to push off their opponent away. That's great defense.
Myrmidons did the right thing there. They switched targets. They got the shield off iRaffer and realized Emilitoo was a prime target for the picking then. Switched to him, full burst damage. Psiyo did the majority of that. Dardez got the kill. But the defense is good, and we've taken the fire giant off of Freya. It'll relinquish the pressure for a little while, I mean, on their side.
We both said defense is good, Hindu Man. That's an understatement. We just saw this Myrmidon squad defend a Phoenix against a Fire Giant team with 10,000 gold up with a substitute. This team did a very, very good job on defense, and right away, intelligently knows how to turn that defense into offense, take out that tier 1 tower in the mid lane. I like where these players' heads are at.
It gives them a little bit of gold, but I mean, they've got to get this next Gold Fury to really try and buy themselves a little bit of an opportunity. There's no chance they can get to the tier 2 towers of Epsilon right now, especially with the Fire Giant being up. Even fighting the Gold Fury is going to be a big ask for them. Epsilon, very, very small misstep there. I think they were just feeling themselves a little bit too much more than anything else. A little bit over cockiness with the state of the game as it was. And Emilitoo getting picked means a bit of a reset for a moment, but it's still definitely an Epsilon's game.
Without a doubt. We're 27 minutes in, folks. 6-16 are the kills, and that should tell you the story if you don't even want to look at the 10,000 gold lead in gold. And here comes Epsilon right down the middle, pulling out their opponents underneath their towers, and Dimmy gets credit for that one, that adapting pulls
this is what they
over
do.
the top.
This is what they do. They pick apart supports time and time again. They did it against Milzy last week when he played Ares. This week they're now doing it against Myrmidons, and the substitute Tint's having a rough time of trying to get himself in the support of his team.
Now just 2 minutes ago, Myrmidons were able to control the fight on the right-hand Phoenix. They are missing Tins this time around, but honestly, I think that Dark Dodo and Psiyo are a bigger part of the defense. Can Myrmidons do the same thing here?
LeMoGow goes in with the ring, but he already got bursted if he could get anything off as well. He's already down. They're in the ring, but they're not going to care. Lord of the Afterlife onto Psiyo, who's now not healing at all. He'll fall down as the unstable Vortex hits as well. Emilitoo is still chasing, looking for more kills if he can find it, and the Feather Step from adapting will bring him down.
So much damage coming out here, resulting in kills for Team Epsilon. We're taking a look at the players left for Myrmidons, and it's going to be Dark Dodo and Tins. Neither of them really have that much to offer as far as defending this Titan. Because of that, Epsilon will go ahead and aggress and take game 1 off a fantastic play from the entire team. Chaos Titan, it will fall. as will the last member. So Dark Dodo,
Predictions?
the last one standing, credit goes to Emilitoo.
Predictions at home would have been for Epsilon to win this
Sure.
one, especially based off past results between the two teams and the games they've played so far. And to be fair, it kind of went as expected, although Myrmidons, considering they had a substitute, their early game pressure and rotations were very, very strong. They won the early trade, that 2-1 trade going even after losing First Blood. Not the worst case scenario to pick up 2. But as the game pressured on, there was a big fight around the goal field that just swung things.
What I liked coming out of Epsilon here was the commit to the comp that they drafted. They picked the OSiris intentionally to deal with the hell. And not once did you see Dimmy just ult in for the sake of ulting. Every single time it was on top of that hell to control the heals coming out from Psiyo. And because of that, Psiyo unable to really do what he could. The one time that we didn't see it, that was the defense on the right side, Phoenix.
And the one thing is as well, the Awilix pick there. It's one that's been out of the meta for a little bit, at least in terms of the SPL. People went, where did she go? Because she just fell off the face of the earth. This time for Adapting, though, drafted in, and to be fair, the time she was drafted in, well, she gets First Blood to begin the game off, but the one time she's actually drafted in is when she's against a Hades, who she can pull back, and an Odin, who she can pull back.
And it was not just her, it was part of the team as well. As we said, you can get the knockup from Awilix by herself if the opponent is looking the other way. Not able to land that, but Geb's Shockwave is there almost on demand, so able to pull him out of the way. But a large part of it, as I said earlier, was really Emilitoo's ability to 1v1 in that long lane. I mean, sure, it was against Dardez, out of position. Traditionally, support going to be playing that hunter role, but you got to take advantage of that. You got to be able to do
Here's
that.
the thing: the best hunters in the world, the likes of Zatman, Allied, Snoopy over in NA, and then obviously Reels, Emilitoo, Funball, those sort of boys over in EU, they will exploit a weakness. If you show you're not going to fight them or you're scared to take a trade with them, they will exploit that and abuse the lane situation. And if they get really confident with it, you'll see what Emilitoo did in these replays. I'm just like, all right, let's go, boys. I'm all in.
All in for sure. I mean, the amount of times we saw the Valkyrie's discretion used aggressively underneath the tower right here.
That's confidence.
This play.
That's because, you know, in the laning phase, you've given too much respect to an extent. You've not tried to trade with him. Sometimes you have to, though, but at the end of the day, it didn't work out.
Didn't work out for those players, but it worked out for these 5 players on your Alpha Draft top performers. Fantastic play, and as you can see, the entirety of Epsilon. So no real surprise there as far as that's concerned.
Kind of how it's going to be. I mean, with Epsilon this season, if you put points into Alpha Draft on Epsilon, you're probably going to come out okay.
This team has been out of control. Emilitoo actually sneaking out above Adapting, one of the first times we've seen that come out, because Adapting has really been running the squad. And while Awilix did have some key moments in this game, not the win condition.
Adapting's a big controller in the jungle. Look at the gods that he picks. Serket, controlling. She has a lot of mobility. Thor, controlling. A lot of mobility. Awilix, a lot of control, a lot of mobility. You put those together, you can see the sort of pattern, and they play around that style.
At the same time, still able to deal a lot of damage and get a lot of kills for himself. That's really the Adapting that we've sort of come to expect and learn to love out of Epsilon. But that's going to do it for game number 1. We're going to move into game number 2 right away. And Epsilon now on the left side, they